Hi, folks, and welcome to Tough Call Podcast. This is actually the first episode I've done all year. I've taken the year off doing podcasting, but as the playoffs are starting, I'm going to get back into it. I'm Josh from Tough Call, and I am a member of the Heavy Hockey Network. And I'm just happy to be on this channel and broadcasting live here. I have my own YouTube channel, which is where I do most of my videos. But I am part of the Heavy Hockey Network. I submit articles for them and do a bit of podcasting for them on their shows. So I decided to put my own show on their channel and see if I could reach a different audience than what I'm used to. I'd say if you're curious about any of the things that I talk about, I post my videos on my own YouTube channel called Tough Call. I've recently hit a few milestones personally. In April, I passed 5,800 subscribers, and I have over 7.5 million views lifetime over the course of my channel. So it's been a great April, and it's been a great year for me. I've had 2.5 million total views on my videos just in this year alone, and it's been great to be part of the Heavy Hockey Network. And maybe some of you recognize me, maybe some of you don't from some of the other podcasts, but I'm going to bring my own material to the site here and see how it goes. If you, like I said, if you want to see anything that I think about some of these videos that I'm going to post, the videos that I'm going to try and show you if they work are the ones that are posted on my own YouTube channel, so you can hear my commentary and my takes on all these hits and plays that I'm going to talk about. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is the Darnell Nurse cross check, some of those MMA type finishing moves we've seen in some of the fights in the NHL here recently, the Puljujärvi headshot, and probably a few other headshots, depending on how long I take in each video. Hopefully, I'll talk about each incident, maybe 1 to 2 minutes. But you're going to hear some numbers that are a little bit out there sometimes. My suspension figures that I would propose. I am in no way, just to be clear, trying to guess or predict what the actual NHL is going to do. This is based on my own system. So people complain about the consistency of officiating and the standard of the DOPS and the randomness of some of the suspensions and fines. And they say, well, it needs to be better. And I said the same thing. It needs to be better. But I created my own system on how I think it could be better and how it might look. So you're going to hear, some of my numbers, basically like for headshots and things, stuff is 1 to 2 games. I kind of want that bumped up to 3 to 5. But there are things that I consider to be, have nothing to do with hockey. And I would put those in like a 6 to 10 game suspension range. So some of my numbers, they seem pretty wild at times because those are things that today would get 1 game or maybe two. And I want to see between 6 and 10. So sometimes people think I'm a little out to lunch, but hopefully over the course of this evening you get to see why. I'm going to I'm going to show you some plays and give you my thought process on them. I see we have someone in the chat. Is my mic 10 feet away? No. Does it sound bad? It's not 10 feet away. Maybe I had it covered with my papers or something. Does it sound any better now? You just keep me posted on that in the chat. And if you ever have any questions, just put it in the chat and I'll see if I can answer them about myself or my system. Or if you have, of course, any thoughts on any of these plays, I encourage you to comment in the chat. So just basically how my podcast starts is over the course of April, since March 31st was the last time that the NHL issued a fine or suspension. March 31st. And then they went 2 full weeks. The first 2 full weeks of April, they had nothing. And it looked like they were going to get out of the regular season scot-free. But over the past 5 days, they've had to issue 3 suspensions. Having said that, over the same time period throughout the month of April, they've issued 3 suspensions. I would have issued 1 fine and 9 suspensions. So that's what I'm going to go through tonight. And, see if you can get an understanding as to why I would do that. So first, the ones we agree on. Okay, so the Darnell Nurse cross-check. He was suspended 1 game by the actual NHL, which I don't think was enough, honestly. I don't even know why they bothered to do it 1 game other than just to say they did something about it. But I really feel like they didn't want to. They just felt like they had to because it was so close to the playoffs and they wanted to kind of send a message for that Kings series. Um, who do I think will win the cup? We're going to jump right into that, are we? That's a great question. That is, I honestly don't know. I usually do my own prediction video. Heavy Hockey did their own prediction show last night. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it on. Um, I am an Oilers fan through and through. I always have been lifelong. I'd love to see them win the cup. I was a lot more confident in that last year than I am this year as far as the Oilers go. I I really don't know what to tell you at this time. I haven't studied it too closely since the matchups were finalized. But it's really this year of all years. It's probably anybody's cup. I don't really want to see Florida repeat, and I honestly don't think that's going to happen anyway. But I don't want to see it. I just can't bring myself to enjoy that. So I have soft spots for, say, Carolina. I'd like to see them go a little far. I would like to see the Leafs go far, to be honest. But as far as who's going to win the cup, I really haven't given it that much thought just yet. I'm going to put my own prediction video out tomorrow, probably. I usually do my own video. I got a little magnetized board with all the team logos in it, and I move them around, and I work my way to the cup. And that's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Probably post that on my own YouTube channel. But boy, I don't know. You guys tell me who you think's going to win the cup while I go through. We'll talk about Darnell Nurse first. Yeah, so that 1 game, I really don't think it was enough. Now, this is one of those numbers right off the bat. You're going to hear, and you're going to think I'm crazy. Okay, so I give Darnell Nurse 7 games, and I'm going to try and play the video, and hopefully the video works. But for now, I'll tell you why I choose 7 games. It's because this is one of those things that I think it's a play that has nothing to do with hockey. It's after the whistle. It's a player laying down. He's defenseless, and you're just going to drive your stick into the back of his head, and then you're going to make it so that his head hits the ice. And I know what people are going to say. They're going to look at this and they're going to say, well, it's barely any head contact with the stick. It's mostly just a punch to the back of the head. You look like if he was really going to try and cross check him, he would have made it more forceful and really hurt him. And the way I look at it is if he really wasn't trying to cross check him in the head, then it wouldn't be this close. And I don't see any reason for anything even remotely close to asking for a cross check to the head in this situation. There's no need of it. So for me, this is the kind of stuff that I want out of the game. So I give him 7 games for that. Um, I know it seems ridiculous in the context of today's world where he got 1 game, right? But in my world, remember, everyone who does this would get the same. So it would be automatic. Like if there's a cross check to the head, we always wonder what's he going to get? 1 game, 3 games, 5 games. In my world, if there's a cross check to the head, a deliberate, intentional one like this, it's bare minimum 6. You know it's going to be 6. There's no question about it. It's just a matter of where it will be in that 6 to 10 game suspension range. This one here, because it wasn't that forceful, that's why it's down to 7 instead of closer to 9 or 10. If it was more forceful, it would be 9 or 10. But that's the way my system works. So, okay, Edmonton in 6 games. 2 would be fair. See, right? 2 would be fair today. But really, when you think about it, how worse off would hockey be if we didn't have players cross-checking each other in the head or the face? How much would we miss that? Really? You could still have your violence, you could still have your scrums, but do we really need people cross-checking each other in the face? I think we could ask, and I think it's reasonable to ask players to keep their sticks down and not do that, especially in this situation. It's not part of a battle. It's not part of an ongoing altercation. He's got a player down, and he sees it's vulnerable, and he takes advantage of that. I don't really see how there's a hockey purpose for that. So, okay, I think it should have been 5 games, and now we're getting somewhere. And if there was an injury, he would get more. Sure, in the real NHL, he would get more. Okay, if there's an injury. But in my world, I don't like the idea of penalizing more based on whether or not someone was injured. To me, is the play dangerous or isn't it? Like, you could get hurt on a pretty clean body check. That's, you could get some freak injury and you could survive something like this. Like, Byfield is obviously okay. He missed a game, but were they sitting him because he was hurt or just because it was the end of the year? And then he played their last game, right? So he seems fine. He seems ready to go. But would it, like, now we're using that as proof that this wasn't that forceful. If he missed 2 weeks with a concussion, do we really want to go back and say, well, maybe this was more dangerous than why wait till someone gets hurt? That's the way I look at it. If either the play is something you want in the game or something you don't want in the game. And it doesn't matter if someone gets injured or not for it. You should suspend based on the action, not the results, in my opinion. And that's the only way you can be consistent, really, with how you go. Because if you base it on result each time, then that's where you get into, well, maybe he deserves more because he was hurt. And sometimes you get lucky and players don't get hurt. And then do you really not get suspended just because of that? I don't think so. I think it's something we want out of the game. Um, so Cotter, Paul Cotter got, this is your 2 games. He got 2 games for an illegal check to the head. And in my estimation, I would have given him 2 games as well. So this is one of those times where my system kind of matches what the NHL does. But to me, like, I don't see, because, like, when you think about it, my scale, I was going to give Nurse 7 and him 2. That's the way I see these incidents as far as danger and need for hockey. Um, the NHL gave him 2 as if this is worse, and Darnell Nurse 1. Do you guys see this as worse than what Darnell Nurse did? I don't. And it's also relative. Instead of comparing the incidents, it's about relativity to hockey. Like, here we have a play where they're in the middle of the play and there's a puck between them and he's making what I would consider to be a hockey play, at least an attempt on the puck, something that has to do with the game of hockey. Whereas the Nurse cross check had nothing. The game was stopped. It was a whistle. Everyone was relaxed, and no one would have expected that contact. Where here you're going to expect contact. So for me, do you really see this as worse than the Darnell Nurse one? So intent to injure, that's a great point to bring up, some stranger. I really appreciate you being here and asking these questions. Intent, to me, you can't get inside someone's head and if you try and base intent on what you think a player was trying to do, you could be wrong. You could guess wrong. That's subjective. The way I look at intent is, like I said, if Darnell Nurse didn't want to cross check someone in the head, did he do things that were closer? His actions, did they look closer to somebody who wasn't trying to cross check him in the head, or to somebody who was trying to cross check him in the head? So to me, that's his intention. His intention must have been to do that, right? If if he if he didn't want to cross check in the head, he just wouldn't have cross checked there. So to me, I can't get inside his head and find out whether he really wanted to hurt him, whether he just lightly wanted to hit him, or what. What I see is someone cross checking someone in the head. He's made a choice to do that. I can't base it on anything other than what I see. That's the way I look at it. Right, Connor, you could find some alternate idea in his head, right? Nurse, it just looks like he was intending to injure. So for me, like Connor here, right? Like, the puck is between them. In my opinion, he this is the way I break this down. Okay, the puck's coming, and what he wants to do right now is try and reach for the puck, and he realizes, okay, he's not going to get there. So now he's just trying to lift his stick. See how his blade rolls? It's because he's trying to get his stick on the puck and chip it so that at least Pelech can't play it cleanly. He's going to try and disrupt the path of that puck to Pelech. And then when he's not going to get there again, he puts his stick out in front of Pelech to try and block that dump in. To me, these are the actions. I'm not inside his head. I can't say that's what he's thinking, but his actions are telling me that he is focused on that puck and he's doing everything in his power to try and block that dump in. And then he just finds himself in a spot where, okay, contact is now imminent and I got to do something that I don't get hurt. And he's going to actually try and lean kind of away like this. But as he does that, of course, his shoulder leans in, but really he's picking his leg up. I mean, Paul Bissonnette, I don't agree with him a ton, but he breaks it down the same way. Like, he's really just trying to get around at the corner and he just cuts it a little too sharply. So that's why I would suspend him. I'm sitting there going, okay, I don't think he did too much wrong, but I'd still give him a suspension because it was avoidable head contact. And I think it was severe enough head contact that he needs to try harder to avoid that. But at least I can see his hockey purpose. So that's why it's only 2 games. It's a a play that is hockey related in my opinion. So these are this is right out of the rule book, and I put that stuff in my video so people can see where I'm coming from. I know my own system is based on my own system, but I still follow the rule book to make my calls. So for me, like that's why I think a minor penalty is probably a good thing, even though I would suspend here. So that's Cotter. So me, right, the DOPS and me were bang on in that case. 2 games, 2 games, and our reasonings in the videos are quite similar. To be honest, they do explain the rules the same way I do typically, or I should say, I explain the rules the same way they do. Of course, they made the rules up like they get credit for it, but I do see the game the same way. I just feel like some things should be punished more than others. So here's another check to the head. Gudis and Perry, like so they didn't call anything on this one. So I gave 2 to Cotter and they gave 2 to Cotter. They gave nothing for this. Look at Gudis here, how much he extends and reaches out with his shoulder. There's no play on the puck here. He tries to make body contact, but he gets way up and it's only shoulder. It's not core to core. It's shoulder to head. There's no core contact here. It's all shoulder to head, and he extends the shoulder up in the head to pick it, in my opinion. He's picking the head. So for me, this is very, very avoidable. And Perry didn't even have the puck at the moment he was hit. So that's why, to me, this goes up. Cotter, you could see he was making a hockey play. He had a bit of a hockey purpose. Gudis didn't. Like he's just trying to get a piece of a guy going by. And he doesn't care how or why he gets a piece. He just wants a piece. So he shrugs his shoulder up dangerously. That goes in the head. Real world, I could see this getting 1 to 2 games as well. Don't get me wrong. But under my system, it's more in the 3 to 5 because to me it's a non-hockey play versus Cotter's hockey play. So that's why it gets bumped up to that scale. So that's what I mean. Things that are 1 to 2 games today would be 3 to 5 in my scale. And this is an example of that. But again, the NHL didn't call anything on this. It wasn't even a penalty. That surprises me because they're so worried about head contact. One more headshot before we move on to something else. It's Cernak and Raymond. Now, again, nothing on this play. And the same thing to me, Raymond is just cutting to the middle. He's allowed to do that as a puck carrier. Cernak is coming in, he's got him angled off, and he's committed. So if he stays right now, like he is right now, shoulder down, he's fine. I'm going to go back again. If he stays like that and just keeps gliding forward, he's still going to get a piece of Raymond. But when he thinks he's going to miss, he shrugs that shoulder up, and that's what picks the head, grazes across the chin. So to me, that's avoidable. He is trying to make a hockey play. He doesn't stick his elbow up or really shrug that bad, but he shrugs enough that he catches the head in a moment where head contact is avoidable. So to me, again, this is a 2-gamer. It's nothing outrageous, but it definitely needs to be acknowledged and addressed. And again, the NHL didn't address this. And to me, that's inconsistent. If you're going to suspend Cotter for 2 games, how do you not suspend Gudis or Cernak for very similar things? I don't know how they decide which ones they're going to suspend and which ones they aren't going to suspend. Um, I, thank you. Yeah, I do. I watch way too much hockey for someone who doesn't get paid to watch it. Honestly, like I watch a lot of hockey, and I watch for these things. Like they're just things that I notice. So I wish I had more subscribers, to be honest, and tell your friends, please, and tell people that I'm on right now, and hopefully they come watch. Um, I appreciate that comment. You're the go-to place to find all the sketchy hits as soon as they happen. Like I really, that makes me happy because I put a lot of work into it, and to see that people come to my channel because they can't find those types of hits anywhere else. That's what I like to hear. But how I get all those videos, I just I watched the game honestly, and I have my sister. I said things to my sister, and I say, look, there's a hit at this time of the game, this time of the place, or people actually are really good about sending me stuff. A lot of my viewers or listeners now they got to know me, and I put the call out. Like if you see something, because I can't watch every game, you see something, tell me. And so I see something I want, and I send it to my sister, and I say, "Can you get me this clip?" And the clip magically appears in my email. I That's honestly how it works for me. And then I edit the video to show the parts that I want to see and focus on. Then I do my voiceover. So um, that's the way I work right now. I wish I had a team of people sending me stuff because I could get more out even faster, but I appreciate everybody that lets me know about incidents. I got tagged all the time. People say, "Hey, did you see this?" Or "Hey, what do you think of this?" And it really helps me because obviously I can't watch every single game. But I very, very much appreciate that comment. Thank you very much for that. Now the Pulley Harvey one, right? This is to me, God, I can't even remember what he got in real world. Just let me check my notes. I actually I don't have it written down. Does anyone remember what he actually got? I can't remember to be for the life of me. What did he get? Uh, Now I got to look up player safety. Anyway, I give him 4 games. What did he get? 2? He probably got 2. That sounds about right. Because, like I said, the NHL gives, yeah, he got 2 games. Now that's 2 playoff games. Keep in mind, and I don't know how they determine that because 2 playoff games to them is about 4 games, 4 regular season games. So that matches kind of what I said. And it's important to note, like people are telling me he didn't mean to do this. He doesn't even throw a body check. He doesn't shrug. And there's some people that believe that there's no head contact here whatsoever. So I don't know what you guys think about this, but I see head contact. That Jesse one looks so innocent, right? It does. It looks so innocent. Uh, it looks honestly, that's the part that baffles me the most. Is it looks like he has some of the worst situational awareness that I've ever seen a player have. Like it's like he's mystified that he makes contact at all. So some people are saying, well, he was just prioritizing the body. That's what you do when someone's in the slot. But to me, he actually seemed surprised that there was any contact at all. So to me, when I'm looking at this, I see that puck coming in the slot, and I want to back check that puck. I want to stop it from going to the net. So I'm saying right here, he should have his stick on the ice and reaching out a little further to poke that. And what baffles me is he actually skates right over if he was looking at the puck and focused on it at all, this hit wouldn't have even happened at all. But he skates right over top of the puck to make this contact. So people are saying, well, he couldn't predict that, the guy was going to miss the pass. Well, he couldn't, but he would have noticed had he been looking at the puck at all or paying attention to it, right? So to me, he's just back checking and he doesn't shrug his shoulder though. He does turn into contact, which is what gets me. Like he changes his path of travel and picks the head that way. A lot of people are saying Chaffee just ran into him, but Pugliarvi's putting himself in that lane on purpose, and he's taking an angle of approach from the blind side that's going to put him through the chin, no matter what happens. So to me, this is on him. He needs to avoid this more, and that's why I think a match penalty, right? It's not just a minor or a major; it's a match penalty because they're saying that that's intent, and you can't get inside a player's head. I think intent he really wasn't trying to do anything. He was just there. But I think his actions show what someone who has the intent to injure would do, which makes it all the more baffling since honest to God, I believe he had no idea what was about to happen. So to be so unaware that you create a situation that makes it look like you're doing it on purpose, or you take the actions of somebody that's that's gonna do it on purpose. So it must have been coached, right? There's the joke. Now he's in Florida, so he's become this kind of player, right? That's the joke. And honest to God, I had this conversation today, like where it's like the Florida Panthers practice this. It's like the Panthers have practices to make things look accidental, but they're on purpose, right? So the Bennetts of the world, the Kachucks. I always say like when everyone was giving Nick Cousins a hard time about the boarding and saying like he was the rattiest player in the league, and I would say he's not even the third rattiest player on his own team, let alone the whole league. And they were saying, the veterans will tell him that that's not the way you play hockey. And I'm like, who? The veterans that he has are Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett. They're not going to tell him not to play that way. Now he has Brad Marchand. It's even better, right? Like, so there is something in the water down in Florida where they just play that style of game. But I don't want to get into that. I like to protect all players of all teams, and I can't show any bias when I show these. I try and take the name and the team out of it and just go with what the play is. So, that's all I can do. So those are the three headshots. I just feel like we can do better. We can do better and ask players to be better about the angle and about choosing when and how to make contact. And I think we're going to get more clean checks out of that. People are afraid that means, well, players won't hit at all if you ask them to do that. But I think they'll hit more because they'll be asked to have better body position. They, they won't take the easy way of cross checking and elbowing because they know they have no choice but to do it the right way and make a proper, clean core to core body check. So I think we'd actually see more open ice hitting if we called the game a little more strictly. I don't think we'd see less. I think we'd see way more. We got another comment. I'm going to check. Yeah, that's the way it feels, right? So Yakov Trenin, I cannot believe for the life of me that he did not get anything for this. Like not even a fine. And I wrote an article for Heavy Hockey, kind of explaining maybe why, because of the rule book. But when you look at it, okay, yeah, so maybe he gets a couple of punches thrown in on him when he's a little bit down, but he's on one knee and the fight's still going. To me, that's a bit of a still the heat of the moment. This is, I'm going to push off the ice and I have you, and I see the linesmen are coming in, and I'm going to punch you anyway. There's no way he could possibly defend himself there. So to me, that's definitely being the aggressor. And boy, so I had to give him 9 games. I'm not sure why it didn't come up. Just let me put that up and make sure that I'm right. Yeah, so I would have given him 9 games for being the aggressor here. And it's important to know, I don't know if people know the difference between the instigator and being the aggressor. So I'm going to talk rule book for a little bit on the Trenin play. And I'll leave that up so people know that's what I'm talking about, actually. So being the aggressor, I don't know if that's a term familiar, like you're familiar with, but uh, under the fighting rule, there's actually a parameter for instigator. As we all know, we all hate the instigator rule, except for me. I love it. I love the instigator rule. If anyone wants to talk about that, I'll gladly do it. But for needlessly starting a fight, you get an extra 2 minutes for instigating, a 10-minute misconduct, and your 5-minute major for fighting. So that's 17 minutes in total penalties. If you are also the aggressor of an altercation, that means that they define it as someone who keeps punching or in trying to inflict punishment on an opponent when the fight is already over and it's clear that that's either an unwilling participant or a participant in a fight that's unable to defend themselves. So that's why I use the term being the aggressor for Trenin, because he's punching someone who's now defenseless and can't do anything about it. He's still trying to inflict punishment. And he did. He broke his orbital bone. That's how square and calculated and aimed that punch was. He broke his eye socket. Like, I can't imagine how much pain that would be. I hope I never know, especially from being punched in the face by someone and knowing how preventable and needless it was. Honestly, that's what it comes down to me again. So like I can see this. I can see the game surviving very well without ever seeing this happen again. I don't think any fan would miss it if this didn't happen. And I think that's the way the league should look at it. For like, it's so dangerous and it's so intentional. It's so calculated. I just don't see how a league can justify saying they're trying to prevent headshots and head contact and not give this a fine or a suspension. But the way the rule book works, under the rule being the aggressor, I wrote an article for Heavy Hockey Network stating this fact, and you can find it on the heavyhockey.com website. But if you're the aggressor, they can't suspend you according to the rule book for being the aggressor until you've done it 3 times. And on your third offense, you get a 2-game suspension. So that means that Trenin could conceivably have gotten in another fight and done the exact same thing, and they still wouldn't have been able to suspend him until he did it one more time. He could have broken 3 faces, taken 3 players out for the season, and only gotten 2 games for it. That's insane to me. And that's the way the rule book is written. So they really need to revisit that and figure that out. You think I'm wrong about that rule? Um, is that what you mean? I know there's someone in Vancouver wrote an article about it, and it was the same kind of thing. To me, like, they could find a way to suspend them. Like, on if that's what you mean, like, I think there's a way around it. They could use intent to injure. They could just use unsportsmanlike conduct. They could use anything really and find a way, find a loophole to get rid of that if they really want. But, um, but as far as the being the aggressor rule, it's written in that it would only be it's 3 times for 2. So you're thinking, okay, great. You think I'm wrong that nobody would miss a sucker punch at the end of a fight while somebody is down? Uh, you could be right on that. Like, it's so funny, right? Because I have this conversation a lot with people, and it's the fun of being a hockey fan. Uh, I say the game would be better off without some of this extracurricular stuff. And I'm not saying like scrums and things. I think we could do better to lessen them. I think they're time consuming and boring to me. But I know there's some people who just go mad for them. They want the chaos. They want the violence. They want the insanity. Okay, and those people they own it, which I like. Okay, we have conversations about it, and I say, well, like, why do you want the fighting? At least, especially with fighting, right? People hide behind the fact that they think it keeps the game safer, and I don't. But uh, a lot of people will hide behind that and use that as a reason, whereas other people just own it and say, you know what? I love fighting. I want them to fight more, and I don't care who gets hurt. I just want to see it happen. And what are you going to do? That's the kind of that's the kind of fan you are. So the Chatfield incident, exactly right. So 9 games for me. I would give Trennan 9 games for being the aggressor for that punch. The Chatfield incident to me is a slew foot. Like, it's not even just a takedown. I know, like, I'm trying to talk out both sides of my mouth with some fans because I'm like, you have to remember, guys, that people do take people down in a fight. Like, it is a common practice to try and take your opponent down. And no matter how many punches are thrown, whoever is able to get their opponent down and land on top of them, they always claim that they won the fight, right? But it's not the fact that he took him down, period. It's the fact that how he took him down. It's it's the it's the slew foot throwback. So to me, I give him 10 games for that. And I know, again, that sounds probably crazy to some people. But for me, like, slew footing is one of the worst things. It's the cheapest, dirtiest play you could do in hockey for me, the slew foot. So in the field of play, if you slew foot someone for me, it's between 6 to 10 games. So that's for me, that's where I'm comfortable, like minimum 6 games for this. And the reason I put it so high on the end of the spectrum is because we have a player who's like, I can't remember exactly, but you're in a fight, you're helmetless, and you're just very vulnerable. And you're going to actually take a person who's expecting to go hand to hand combat and you're going to grab them, put your leg behind them, and spin them around in a circle and give them like a back suplex. Like, that is just extremely dangerous, extremely avoidable. And again, some people are saying, well, what do you want them to do? It's a fight, and no, all bets are off in a fight and all that, and that's fine. But there are rules of engagement, right? Like, doesn't that go against the code? Do I think the Chatfield type incidents are bringing more younger people to the NHL? Um, that's I feel like that's part of it. I do. It's a great point. I feel like they're training a new generation to crave the violence in hockey. And don't get me wrong, I get that this is what separates hockey from other sports is the fact that they allow fighting. People can't believe that they allow players to go hand to hand combat in the middle of the game. It's a fascinating element of our sport, and I wouldn't actually want to see it go away completely. Like, I wouldn't miss it if it went away completely. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't cry about it, but it would kind of change the North American style of hockey. It's what separates not just hockey from other sports, but what separates North American hockey from other levels of hockey and other areas. It's something that we take a lot of pride in. So, is the DOPS letting them slide? They have a case, right? Like it's that's why they can get away with it because okay, it's a fight. So we're already allowing people. This is what's crazy about a fight to me is they actually step back and get out of the way and clear the ice so that people can intentionally commit a major penalty. Like when people say we allow fighting, we still have to remember it's a 5 minute major penalty. Like they still it's still pretty severe, right? But we actually stand back and let it happen. Whereas if someone was coming at someone and they were going to spear them in the face, I don't think we would stand back and say, you know what? Yeah, okay, go ahead. Like it is baffling to me that we stand back and let that happen and watch it and love it, right? But that's what makes hockey, for great at times is just the madness of it and the speed and the intensity of the violence, and then we can all shake hands afterwards. So I I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. What the Four Nations was awesome. It got everybody talking. That's a great point. Like it sells. It's fantastic. But was there? I mean, it was crazy. It was a crazy thing, right? But it's like Christmas Day, though. To me, like if every game had three fights at the start of it, I'd stop watching. Like it's boring. It was exciting in the moment, and I feel like the game still would have been pretty exciting without that happening. That's just my opinion. But now it's a soundbite. So when you talk about kids growing up these days and all that, they see their attention span is about reels, and now that makes a great reel. So I used to watch Sports Center, right? As I've been saying lately, the beautiful game, right? I watched Sports Center. I would get up and watch the highlights. I'd watch a half-hour show. I'd see these clips, right? Now the kids are getting it instantaneously. They're seeing the highlight reel goals. They're seeing these fights, these big hits in just very small windows of time, and they think that's what the sport is the whole time when it isn't. There's a lot of pros and cons to that, especially as someone who works with young kids and trying to teach minor hockey kids. They see a lot of this and they think that's what hockey is. They don't see the work that goes into it. They don't see all the little battles that create the space for those highlight reel goals. They just want to do the toe drag and the top shelf snipe from a bad angle, but they don't see all the times it didn't work, and they don't see all the players that are creating the space and doing the real work so that that goal scorer can go in and make that shot. Right? Um, Fighting's the same thing. Everyone's told protect your goalie. Well, what does that mean? You're telling a 9-year-old to protect your goalie, and you're not really defining it. So unless you're like a coach who takes the time to go over those details, so they see this and they think protecting your goalie is cross-checking your guy so that he lands on top of your goalie, because that's what the NHL does. So there's definite pros and cons here. Fighting does sell and market the game, and that's what I'm saying. Like it defines the North American hockey game. So it would probably be different to see it go away completely, but other leagues have gotten rid of it to a certain extent, like even pretty high level, like the Q, for instance. And I don't see that really making a big problem in terms of selling tickets and all that. I think everything's kind of the same, and the game doesn't necessarily miss it. And we haven't seen major. It's not like there's been a big rash of kneeings or cross checks to the head or whatever at those levels. It's just the same. I don't. I, I just don't see the problem with not having it. But I would probably would feel weird for a while if it was gone. If you know what I mean, like you just kind of you expect it. And there's times where honestly, like I think it's the right thing to do. I wouldn't want to see it all the time, but there's times where it's like, oh my god, I wish someone would just grab that guy and just pump him, right? And they do. You make that choice, and sometimes it's the right choice. So, like, I would want that option. But that's what I like about the instigator rule is it makes people choose their moments, right? So you know that if you do it, you're going to get an extra 2 and a 10. So you might not be as quick to go after someone for something that wasn't that bad. You would pick a time where it actually deserves it. It's the idea behind it, I think. And so that's good because if something's really worth fighting for, you're going to fight anyway. I'm trying not to get into politics, but U.S. and Canada, that was intense, and the timing couldn't have worked out better for the NHL. It could not have worked out better for them politically. Um, I guess that's all I'll say on that. Where am I going next? Ah, so to me, the NHL they decided to crack down on people pulling off helmets, right? But they're not doing a good job of it. So when players have their helmets ripped off in a game, it's supposed to be an automatic penalty. If you take the opponent of a helmet off, it's supposed to be an automatic roughing minor penalty. And of course, that's because now they have the rule where if your helmet falls off or whatever, you need to go to the player's bench or you need to take the time to pick that helmet up. And we've seen that cost teams while a player is trying to put their helmet back on or get off. Now a team is shorthanded and they get scored on. So the flip side of that would be calling a penalty on people who intentionally rip their opponent's helmet off so that they have to go to the bench. And I would take that one step further. Under my system, that would be a fine. So I would call. Just let me see if I can load this video up here. I would make sure that we're calling those penalties every time, and I would fine players. Let me see if I can find this video here. Um, Here's a scrum between the Oilers and that's my voice doing the voiceover. This is taken right from my YouTube channel. So this is how I would explain this. Um, so we had a game between Edmonton and LA. It got quite out of hand. Some people liked it, some people didn't. It was pretty boring on my end because Edmonton was basically dressing an AHL roster and they were playing against an NHL roster. And so the game wasn't going to be very good. The anthems of the Four Nation were over the top. Yes, they were. Um, so we have a little scrum here. Okay, Podkolzin has Brant Clark's head in a headlock, and Warren Fogle sees that. So he's going to go over and grab his helmet off. Fogle rips his helmet off, and Podkolzin rips his helmet off. If you rip a helmet off in a scrum, to me that's even worse. Like that's a step further because everyone's upset. They're going to come in, and if you rip someone's helmet off like this, and then someone comes in and grabs them and does a chat field on them, right now they're exposed. You're intentionally creating much more danger for that player now, especially in the melee of people punching and pushing and sticks are all up in the air. And look at all that, right? And now this guy, there's two people in there that their heads are exposed because we're ripping players' helmets off. So to me, like if you're creating excess danger in an already volatile environment, that should be something that the league should crack down on. So every time that happens, I would find someone. So we had Podkolzin rip Clark's helmet off. So Fogle ripped Podkolzin's helmet off, and then he rips Arvidsson's helmet off. So there's two helmets there because Fogle ripped them off. So that's why it says I would fine Podkolzin 2,500 for roughing, which is the call for when you rip someone's helmet off. That's one because he ripped one helmet off, but Warren Fogle ripped two helmets off. So a fine for the first one, and then under my system, he'd be a repeat offender. So when he rips the second helmet off, he would get an extra fine, but two cumulative fines under my system create a suspension. So he'd get actually a 1-game suspension out of here for ripping two buckets off. I don't know why we wouldn't want to do that. I don't know why we would let players intentionally create needless danger like this to their opponents and be okay with it. Uh, I can't even remember what the penalties were there, but I know Fogle got one, but that might have been it. I don't know. I don't remember, but they weren't for the situation. I don't think the penalties were enough. That's the way my system works. And also interference from the players' bench. I don't think they should let players get away with things from the bench. So Teddy Bluger, in that incident with the Yakov Trenin sucker punch, he didn't like it, so he speared Trenin from the bench in the back. And to me, any interference from the bench is 6 games automatic. If you're reaching over, grabbing players that are on the ice from the bench, or grabbing their stick, or pushing them, or holding them, or you reach over with your stick and hit them in the play, such as this, it's automatic 6 games. Like, why are we letting people interfere from the players' bench? And because it's a spear, which is to me another dangerous infraction that should be in the 6 to 10 game suspension range, I give him 8 games for spearing from the player's bench. I just don't see how that's unreasonable. People look at it as it wasn't a spear, it was just a little love tap. And they say, well, maybe you give him 2 or 3 games. Well, you know what? I'd take that. Like, because if I said 2 or 3 games, they would have said, no, no, he doesn't deserve anything. It was just a little love tap, 0 games. But because I said 8, now people are like, well, dial it back to 2 or 3. And to me, that's a win because 2 or 3 is more than he got. He got a 2-minute minor penalty for interference, right? Tough call, right? Tough call with suspend. It's like it is iconic. So, and also, if they had punished Bluger appropriately, then this wouldn't have happened. So, I don't know if I can get this to come up. Let me see what I can do here. I got the Podkolzin one to come up. Do I have? Yeah. So I have the Danault. Okay. Again, you're going to hear my voice for a second, probably. Oh boy, that's taking a while to load. Maybe it won't work. Anyway. Yeah, I don't think that worked. So Danault grabbed Corey Perry's stick from the bench. Corey Perry went to finish a hit on Byfield, and Danault grabbed his stick and held him there. So Perry went back to the bench, and all of a sudden now there's an altercation between Perry and the bench. And it's just needless escalation in a game where things were already escalated. And that's just needless escalation of a situation. So even though he was just holding his stick, remember, he's standing on the player's bench. He has no business interfering or touching anybody that's on the ice. It's not supposed to happen. And again, he just got a 2-minute minor for interference. To me, that's not good enough. We need to discourage this type of behavior so that we don't have needless escalation. So, and I call it needless. Fans may want this to happen, and players may still do it, right? It doesn't, like, it's fine if they choose to do it, and we want the chaos, and the chaos still happens. But there should be a law so that you can appropriately punish a player when they do that. That's all I'm saying. Some players still choose to spear people now, and they know they're going to get a $5,000 fine. But you have to make a law that would, maybe make players think at least twice before they do it. It's probably still going to happen sometimes, but I would say hopefully a 6-game suspension would make it not happen. I'm going to skip a couple that I was going to talk about. We're getting close to an hour, so I'm going to go to my buy request. So, like I said, people from time to time, they'll come to me with an incident, and they'll say, hey, did you see this? Or, hey, what do you think of this? So I'm just going to make sure that I have my notes properly here to say what he said. Let's see. Bear with me here, people. So my buy request is from user Adam Kubaki. I hope I said your name right, 1958. But what they said, okay, in the message to me, they said, Quinton Byfield recently scored a one-handed goal while holding the defender's stick. Refs aren't calling stick holding at all, and it's so commonplace. This would be a good analysis of how the rules changed and why it's not enforced at all. So we'll start with the incident. Brouhaha. Okay, so we'll start with the incident. This isn't a brouhaha. This is a regular video. Sorry, but I'll try and use it. I'll try and use brouhaha. So here's this Byfield goal. Now, what a feat of athleticism, first of all. Like, don't take anything away from the goal, but he's got one stick in each hand. And he only has one stick himself, so that has to be the stick of his opponent in the other hand. And it's not that he just holds it to push it away for a second. He's got it the whole time. He scores with one hand, and he's already scored, and he's going to try and celebrate, and he's still holding that stick. So he's held that stick for a significant amount of time. He's actually taken it almost away from his opponent there while he's scoring a goal. Like, I don't know how they would miss that, because what else would they be looking at when the puck is right here? How do you not see this person who's about to score a goal in 2 seconds holding onto that stick for like a good 5 seconds and even still holding onto it after he scored the goal? You need to notice this, right? Um, I just can't believe they didn't call it. Um, so something I will say, like, so the person said, remember, they're not calling stick holding at all. I did a little research. There's been 94 holding the stick penalties this season. At the time I looked at it, which was last week, there was actually two more at least this week. So probably somewhere between 96, 97 holding the stick penalties this season. There were 102 last year. So a little difference. There was 90 the year before that, 108 the year before that, um, 96, 85. There's some prorated in there for COVID and all that. But so there generally tends to be between 80 and 110 holding the stick penalty calls a year, depending on the year. So I'd say 94 to 95 or whatever this year is pretty good, especially when you consider that penalties overall are significantly down over league wide. There was that big article that said how many minutes and penalties or how many instances of power plays and things were like way league wide. This has been an insane historical year for non calls, and I think one team was the first team to get under 170 penalty minutes in an 82 game season. I can't remember who it was. I just saw a tweet about it. Um, so there's like record numbers of low penalty calls. So I would say that the holding the stick rule on its own is actually being called pretty good in relation to the other rules. But I find that in general, there's just not a lot of penalties being called. So this was one of the obvious missed incidences. Um, the, the Martian licking video. I did not touch that one. For whatever reason, I just never got around to it. I don't know what I would do. Like it's just I can't even believe he did that. Like I don't even know what to do with it. Like but so an example of missed calls, right? We missed calls and like just a couple of days within a couple of days of that incident, we have Jeff Skinner here. He's just standing there minding his own business at a face-off, and he gets punched in the back of the head, which is a pretty severe uh, penalty. And then seconds later, he's trying to back check, and he gets pulled like blatantly in one hand. And then they score. So he slams his stick in front of the ref, and the ref says, "You know what? You're going to the box." We're talking two missed calls. Boom! That's like a major penalty-worthy offense. That button punch to the back of the head. That's to me a major penalty. And then when you're in the middle of the ice and the puck is right there, and you're pulling a guy back 5 feet, the guy right in front of him is the guy who scored. This guy right here with the arrows, he is scoring the goal. He's within a stick length of him, and he's already being pulled back. So he loses all his ability to back check. And within 5 seconds, that guy's putting the puck in the back of your net. I'd be pissed too, especially when I just got punched in the back of the head seconds before that, and there's no call. So I just think in general, I don't know if it's not holding the stick. It's just in general, they're just not calling anything. Okay, Vegas, that's who it was. You're right. Vegas had the least penalties called against them. Rempe as Baby Huey. I don't think I could do that. Just because I wouldn't remember, I'd forget. I think it's a good idea. This is so fun. I'm having a great time, and I appreciate the comments. They're making it a lot more enjoyable for me. Um, just I have two more things to show you, then we'll be done. My incident of the week. So this is one that was talked about a lot. I got a lot of views on this video, and there's a lot of comments. People have a very strong opinion of whether or not this should have been an interference penalty or whether it should not have been. So I'm going to play the hit. It's Gajovic on Kolik. And so, oh, I paused the video. Right. So to me, okay, I'm going to go a little later so we can see. I talk a lot. I freeze framed it and I talk a lot. So really, to me, that's just Kulik running into Gajovic. Gajovic puts himself in the lane. It has Kulik run into him. So the hit to me is clean. The technique is perfect. It's just a matter of whether or not it's interference. And to me, it's not because Gajovic actually touches the puck. The puck goes right underneath Kulik's stick, but Gajovic actually touches it and brings the puck into that battle. So now, to me, it's he has a right to be there positionally because he's trying to get the puck. So now it becomes a sort of quote unquote reverse hit, which I don't like that term, but he has the puck now. He touches it, so he gets possession, and now he's got to worry about being hit. So he's just going to stand there and brace for impact and knock that player off so that he can get the positional battle, win that positional battle to get the puck. It's not really his fault that that player isn't ready for contact. If he did anything to take advantage of that player, extend out, explode up, lunge up, that would be on him. But because he doesn't do any of that, he stays very low, compact, keeps everything tucked in. He doesn't do anything to pick the head or take advantage of an opponent that's vulnerable. That's why I don't think this is a penalty. The only penalty you could call here is a minor penalty for interference. And like I said, I think that's negated because Gajovic touches the puck. So um, that's my take on that. And I know other people say that doesn't matter because the player he hit didn't touch the puck. So that's the debate we're having here. It's debate that's in my comments. I feel it's enough. he, it was a clean sky. And see, this is the stuff that I think you'd see if you asked players to do things right. If you don't need to blow a guy up, you don't need to explode upward and outward. People tell me that's how you're supposed to hit, but it's not. You do not need to explode into contact if you do it right. If you're playing your position properly, if you are in perfect position and you angle properly and appropriately, that player will just run into you, and contact will just be them basically hitting themselves. That's an ideal hit. You don't do anything to hit or extend or create excessive violence of that contact. The violence is created by that player skating into you. So be better positionally, be stronger. And this, what I'm going to end on, is a great example of this. Ben Sherratt, clean check on Mackie Samoskevich. This is my clean check of the week. That's what I always like to end off on because I'm all about clean. This is what I want to see. This is what I feel my rules and my standard would bring to the game of hockey is plays like this. I'm just gonna sit back and watch this. Like just perfect angling. He doesn't stop and drive forward. He just closes them out, and eventually Samoskevich just runs out of room and gets pelted. It's just such a beautiful hit. I I love this stuff, and I want to see more of it. I'm gonna watch that again. I forgot how great it was. How satisfying is that? And we got to stop attacking people who do stuff like this. I can't remember. I don't show the clipper, and I can't remember if people swarmed them, but I hope not. I hope they just said, you know what? Oh, that's a fun hit. Now let's just keep playing the game and let's do more of that, because that is what I want to see more of and why I do what I do, so that players will do more of this instead of more of the extending, the lunging, and all the dangerous stuff. Uh, the shenanigans, the brouhahas, I could do away with. Sometimes they'll stay, sometimes they won't. Other people like it, but this is what I want to see more of. This is the type of violence and physicality that I want to see. So that is my goal for all this system. Um, Look, I really liked this. I had a lot of fun. I would like to do this again. This is the first podcast I've done all year. Basically, I've just been doing strictly YouTube videos. So now that the playoffs are started and I'm back, my hockey season is done with my kids and my coaching is over and all that. I'm just ready to watch hockey, and I can make videos. And I can't imagine, based on the NHL rule book, that we won't have a lot of incidents to talk about within a day or two. So I hope to do this probably maybe mid-series again, once we're in the middle of all the series and things are getting cooking. And then maybe I'll do it again like at the end of the first round, middle of the second, depending on how many incidents there are to talk about. But I can imagine there'd be enough. So I'd like to do maybe 3 or 4 of these throughout the playoffs if you guys are willing, and hopefully you tune in. How many games suspension would Bilberry get for assaulting a fan with a shoe? Like, I mean, it's funny, right? Because like it's easier for me because under my rules, you'd get 6 to 10 minimum 6 games. I know this is ridiculous, and I hope we never see anyone happen. I hope we never see anyone leave the ice to go attack a fan, right? But if you are on the bench and you reach over into the field of play to grab somebody, it's an automatic 6 games. So imagine if you climb the boards, leave the playing field to go attack a fan. Like it's a natural progression in my system. I mean, it would be probably an 11 plus game suspension for like I define those as those inexplicable plays that just they're so mind boggling that you just never want to see them again. That would be one of them. But it would be a lot easier for me to go from 6 to 14 than it would be for the real NHL to go from 1 game or a fine to let's throw the book at this guy, right? Um, I really appreciate that comment, Rich. I, I love knowing that people are out there listening. Some stranger, I appreciate you too. You're always on heavy hockey chats and all that, and yeah, you're very active in our chats and for all of us, for all of our heavy hockey stuff. And even though I'm not on the shows personally a lot, I do listen to a lot of them, and your name comes up a lot in the chat, and we in the heavy hockey group chat. We enjoy you very much. Um, it is. It's going to be hot come Monday. It is. I kind of like that the Oilers series is Monday. It's a few days away. It gives the Oilers a chance to rest. But what I don't understand is the NHL scheduling. I don't know. I don't like the idea that some series will be going on to game two when the other series is just starting. It's one thing to alternate, like, you have the Saturday ones and then the Sunday ones. You're always going to be a game behind just by nature. But to have this series on Monday, some of them being game two and some of them be a game one, it sets yourself up for not having a good transition into other rounds. And what really pisses me off is when the second round starts before the first round is over in some series. Like I don't know how they can do that. I liked it better back in the olden days. I get why they can't do that when it was just you knew the first night and then it was every second night like clockwork, same time, every second day. None of these afternoon games, none of these, sometimes 3 days before, sometimes two. I don't like it. I would love it used to be when you look back in history of the cup winners, pretty much everyone in my like I know there's going to be exceptions to every rule, but it's like everyone who's supposed to have at least one Stanley Cup kind of has one. Like eventually you find a way to make it happen. So even though some people get more, even in the 80s dominated, like Oilers dominated the 80s and they've 4 or 5 cups, whatever, 4 cups in 6 years, 5 cups in 7 years, whatever it was. Calgary still found a way to win the cup in there. Montreal still found a way to win the cup in there. And then, Pittsburgh, Lemieux got his cups like he was supposed to. Eiserman got his cups. Joe Sakic got his cup. All these people that were supposed to get cups, Ray Bourque got his cup finally. Everyone is supposed to get a cup, gets a cup. But these days, there's just too many teams and too many players that deserve a cup that your team isn't going to win the cup. Like I want McDavid to get a cup, but I know how hard it is to win that trophy, and you're lucky if your team does. So the people who are supposed to win a cup aren't going to win it anymore because when you're like, I could name some names here. Like McKinnon got one, which is great, but you would expect someone like him to get another one. Crosby, like he could have got, he did get his third cup. Like he got his repeat cups, which is great. Uh, you want McDavid to get one, but doesn't say Austin Matthews deserve one at some point. So when's he get his? Um, go down the line. There's superstars on every team that kind of deserve the cup, at least the top 10 teams. And they'll probably never get it because there's just not enough cups to go around when all these players are playing together. So it really does take a special kind of luck and just something to happen. And my fear, the Oilers hit the injury bug at the wrong time this year. So, that's another year wasted. And all of a sudden, how many more chances do you have left? Because all those other players are supposed to get their cups too, and they deserve them. So, what makes you get the cup any more than anyone else these days? It seems there's just too many good players out there. I really hope that he gets his cup, but I you have to accept the reality that it may not happen. And I always tell people, you need a second team. It sucks. I'm a diehard Oilers fan, but when they're out, I want to watch other teams. And as you get used to that, when you have the decade of darkness in your franchise, then it's easy to find other teams to cheer for. But I also have like interest in the other series as well, right? So it's like I want the Oilers to win, and I'm focused on that series. But it's not like I don't have any investment in the other series because I have my second and third favorite teams to follow. And I think you need that to give yourself that chance to win the cup because no one's gonna. Sorry, your team is not winning. Just like I say, your team's not getting screwed over. Well, it is. It's if you think your team's getting screwed over by NHL officiating, especially in the playoffs, you're right. Your team is, but every team is. It's all the same. Um, if anyone is interested in that, Scouting the Refs just put out the list of the officials and lines persons that are going to be doing the playoffs. The 22 officials that are going to be wearing the orange stripes in the playoffs. So that's an interesting list, and there's a lot that goes into it. I actually was just talking to someone about this tonight before I came on the show. Dave Jackson was on the Scouting the Refs podcast. So if you just go Google, I found it right away. I went to my iPodcasts, iTunes, whatever it was, and I Googled Scouting the Ref and Dave Jackson. And when I put that in, it came up right away. And it's a very fascinating interview by him on how they pick the officials that do the playoffs based on their performance in the regular season. And it talks about how they have a series supervisor. So the officials will be in a series and they'll talk to each other and they'll talk to their supervisor. And the supervisor will say, okay, this is happening a lot in this series. We got to watch for that. Or, the coaches have come to me and said, could you please watch for this? So they'll tell the refs to do, like, it's very fascinating the communication channels they have and how much they talk about the games behind the scenes. So, like, I'm as guilty as anybody, and probably more guilty. I mean, I have this whole YouTube channel around it of criticizing the overall inconsistency of the league. But I actually have a lot of videos where I show how most times the linesmen and the officials get it right. Most times they do. It's those, the 5% of the time that they don't. It's just so glaring because, like, I mean, when you look at the clips I played of the Byfield goal where they missed the holding the stick, if he doesn't score that, no one's talking about it. But because he scored, it's just one of those things. Even though it's just, you're bound to miss calls sometimes. But how could you miss that one? But it's bound to happen some. They're going to miss some. It's just, to me, the overall inconsistency. And I think the standard they have in the playoffs allows teams that don't play by the rules or push the boundaries more to get away with it more because it's not that the officials are calling it any differently against them. It's just that they commit more infractions and the officials are only calling it to a certain standard. So you're going to have more, they're going to get away with more only because they commit more. It's not like the officials aren't balanced or calling it consistently in that way. It just seems more inconsistent because the other teams take advantage of it more than the other teams. So there's always going to be one team that seems way dirtier in a playoff series. And it's because they know they can get away with it, which is, I don't know if I explained that very well, but it's frustrating. When the line is here and one team plays this far above the line, they're not going to seem like they get as many breaks as a team that plays this far above the line because the line is here. You know what I mean? Not letting the player redo the shootout shot after the puck was found in the net, I think, was a mistake. So here's what I've heard about that. I actually had a video queued up, but I never got around to it. In talking with people around the league, this is what I think happened. I think that shootout goal, the goal, I did put a video out of the goal, but I didn't put a video out of. So I wonder if I don't think I could load it up anyway. I'm sure people know what we're talking about. When he scored, okay, the refs didn't call it a goal, but before Laine had shot, they had called down to the timekeeper from Toronto and confirmed it was a goal. So it was already decided that that counted. Now, if Laine had shot before they confirmed that, then that they couldn't go back retroactively and count that goal. If Laine had shot, it becomes more like football, where if you get that snap off for the next play before they get a chance to review, they can't review anymore. But because they had let the timekeeper know before Laine shot, it's as if they called it a goal and then Laine was about to shoot. So just because that message wasn't relayed to the on ice officials, that was the confusion. But they had made the decision before Laine shot. So that's why he didn't get to redo it, because it was as if they called a goal and then he just shot. The only the only difference is the on ice officials didn't know that, which is crazy. It's crazy as the Columbus Blue Jackets getting called for an illegal player. You got a 10-minute misconduct, and there was less than 10 minutes left, so he's supposed to be removed from the game. But the player, I guess, didn't speak any English, so he didn't really know what was going on, and nobody told the coach. They only told the player. So, so no one knew that he wasn't supposed to be in the game, and they put him on. Right. Okay. Right. Friedman. He gave the details. Hi, Ace. How are you? I'm just about ready to leave. So, format of the show, I don't know. The people, I liked it. I think it was fun. I think it was easy to do, and I liked it. I had a great time. So I think I'll leave it at that, guys. It's it's pretty late on the East Coast. You got to get used to this because the Oilers games are on so late. But I am in Atlantic Canada, just like Michael from Oilers Live. Um, so it's about 12:20 in the morning where I'm at. I don't know where you guys are at, but I think I'll do this again. Like I said, probably the middle of the first round, maybe after game 4. We'll just check in. Great, great, great. Yeah, so be prepared for another one of these shows, and I'll try and advertise it again beforehand. And I get on the hopefully I get on the next stream of the Oilers Live podcast or one of the other heavy hockey shows. Now that I'm back and ready to roll, so hopefully we'll see you again, Darren. You guys have a good night. 9:18 in Edmonton. Yeah. Okay. So you enjoy the rest of your night. I'll have a I'll have a good night. 4:20. Good Lord. Good Lord. All right. We'll see you guys later.